this is being recorded, and this is a training regarding accessing and understanding Kami and Google Drive. And with that, I am going to introduce Ms. Nicole Naditz. She is our program specialist for instructional technology and world language. We're very happy to have her join us. And at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Nicole.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's just really a joy to see you here. I know that days have been long and days have been difficult, and we just want to start out by welcoming you and thanking you and really putting out into the room that everything each and every one of you is doing is enough. It's a very challenging time, and we recognize that, and I value and really appreciate the fact that you've opted to spend even a little more time out of what was already a busy day for you. And as Lisa said, we'll be looking today at Google Drive and Kami. This came up a lot in questions at last week's Family Matters training, and so we decided to go ahead and provide an opportunity to just get a deeper understanding of what these two tools are, how Google Drive talks to and works with things like Kami, which you'll learn a little bit more about later today, as well as with Google Classroom, which so many teachers in our district are using. And so we want to make sure that everybody is as comfortable as possible with these tools. Again, this training is being recorded, so welcome to those of you who have just joined us. If at any point your internet cuts out or something happens or you have to step away, this recording will be available for you so that you will be able to go back and review any of the content shared during this session. We also have with us Jennifer Cox, who is our teacher on special assignment specifically for instructional technology, and she is going to be monitoring the chat. So if at any time you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and she will either respond to you directly or she might hop onto the microphone and let me know that there's a question that would be a good idea to answer for the whole group at that time. So you can find the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you for some reason don't see it, you may see 3 dots, and if you click on those, that will give you the option to chat. But most of you should see the chat button in the bottom where the tools are, and that will give you the ability to chat at any time. We will also periodically be putting a link in the chat that will give you an opportunity to complete a survey and give us some feedback and information about how well this met your needs, but also additional needs and questions that you may have for us. So that will be posted in the chat periodically as well. So as I said, I'm hopeful that by the end of our time together today, we will be more comfortable with signing into Google Drive and what it means to create a folder or a file and what the difference is between those things in Google Drive. I hope that we'll have a deeper understanding of how to find and organize the files and folders that you or your learners, your students have, and how to share files and folders, especially for students who are in upper elementary grades and older. They might be starting to collaborate with other learners on projects, and they do need to understand not only how to organize their own materials in Google Drive, but also sometimes how to share something with another classmate so that they can work on it together. We will also see one more way to find things that are in Google Classroom, but are actually also located in the student's Google Drive. And we will be creating, we'll be looking at how to create items that can be turned in via Google Classroom. And then lastly, we'll look at those Kami assignments because they are a specific and special kind of assignment. And there is kind of a connection, again, between Google Drive and Google Classroom. And that includes when teachers are choosing to use Kami assignments as activities that they would like their learners to do. So it's helpful to understand how Google Drive and Google Classroom work together. That actually makes it a little bit easier to understand where your Kami assignments are and how to work with those as well. Again, welcome to those of you who just joined us. So Google Drive is basically just a storage area as well as a place where you can create a variety of kinds of files or documents. And because it's located on the internet instead of on the physical hard drive of someone's computer, anybody with internet access can access all of their files from Google Drive anywhere on any device with internet access anytime. And that's been one of the biggest reasons it became so popular, was because it became much easier to find and access your materials. It used to be, for example, for all of us adults in the room, some of the jobs we've had, if you worked on something on a work computer and then went home, you couldn't work on it or look at it or even at home. Now with Google Drive, you can look at things on a variety of devices, even a smartphone or a tablet. In the case of smartphones or tablets, it is always a really good idea to download the app. That will work much better than trying to go to a web page for the same product. This isn't just true for Google Drive. It's actually also true for Google Classroom. There's an app for smartphones and tablets. So students who are using smartphones and tablets will find it much easier and much more successful if they have the Google Classroom app on their phone, or if they have the Google Drive app on their phone or tablet. Welcome to those of you who just joined us. Feel free to put any questions in the chat. And if you are concerned about, we've just gotten started, but if you're curious about what you've missed, the recording will be posted. The way your students best access Google Drive is by signing in to the student portal, where they will actually find the tile for Google Drive. Now, my student portal, the student page of portal in my account looks different from your student, because I am a district level employee. And so I have tiles that students can access, but I have tiles for every single school in the district, whereas your student will only see the things that are appropriate for them at their grade level. But when they sign in to the portal as a student, one of the tiles they have is Google Drive. This can really help ensure that they get into Google Drive in the right way with their same account for their school district. When it opens, there may or may not be a lot in there, especially for our younger learners. But essentially, your Drive typically has two different kinds of things in it. It has folders, and every folder can contain one or more items. A folder is just a way to organize items together that belong together for some reason, for an organizational purpose. And then your Google Drive could also have individual files that are not organized in any kind of folder. And as you'll see in a little bit, your students can create folders to better organize their work, especially older learners who are starting to have more and more things in their Google Drive. They can create folders to organize their work at any time. There is also a section of Google Drive called Shared with Me. And there is where students will find items that have been shared with them by other people. That goes back to what I was saying earlier about how some of our learners might be starting to do collaborative or group work, and one student might have created a file that the whole group needs, and they're going to share that file with their group. And initially, the other members of the group will need to go to Shared with Me to find that. And so we're going to see what that looks like today. It is also important to know that all items from your Google Classroom, including every assignment that you turn in via Google Classroom or that your students turn in via Google Classroom, is actually also located in your Google Drive. So tonight we will see a quick way to get to the folder for the Google Classroom in Google Drive and see what assignments the student has there. Every Google Classroom has a folder. Now, my folder looks different from your students' folders, but there is a folder in the student's Google Drive called Classroom. When the students click on it, it will have a subfolder, or it'll have folders inside of it for the classes in which they are enrolled. For elementary school students, that might only be one folder. But for secondary students, middle school and high school, they are likely to have 6 folders, and in some of our schools, they could even have 7. So there is a folder inside of Google Drive that's just called Classroom, and when they open it, they can actually get to the folder for each class that they are enrolled in. And remember, again, your folders are located at the top of your Google Drive when you first log in. Any folders you have are on top, and then any individual items that aren't placed in a folder come below the folders in your Google Drive. If a student has a lot of items in their Google Drive and they would like to organize them, they can. When they first log into Google Drive from Portal, it might look a little bit differently for each student, and we'll actually do a live demonstration in a little bit. But when they first log in, they will see this new button, and they'll also see this blue kind of rectangle around the words My Drive. That basically just tells you or your student where you are in the Google Drive world, because it's clarifying that right now you're looking at My Drive. You're not looking at Shared with Me. You're not looking at Recent. You're not looking at Starred. You're just looking at My Drive. And then you have the New button, which can be used to create a lot of really important things. One of them is to create a folder to help group together individual files that are just sitting in a long list in Google Drive. And again, this may be more important for our older learners who could have quite a lot in their drive. So they click the large New button and choose Folder and give it a name. And your folder will be empty until you add content. Now, as I said earlier, we will see a live demonstration of a lot of these features of Google Drive. I am using a slide deck right now that will be provided as a resource along with the recording shortly after we finish, possibly tomorrow or perhaps Monday. For those of you who would find it helpful to be able to see these screenshots again, but don't worry about trying to memorize everything. You do not need to do that. There will be both the recording and these slides, or this document that you see me using, will be available for you. In addition to creating folders, when you click the New button, it actually gives you the option to create many things. Folder is the first option, but they can also upload a file from their own computers or even a whole folder of files. And this is where they can go, and where a lot of students actually spend quite a lot of time, is clicking the New button and then starting an assignment. Most often they start those assignments in either Google Docs or Google Slides. But as you can see, there's a More button, and they can get to even more tools where they can create products that they're going to share with someone or turn into their teacher. So again, once they sign into My Drive from Portal for Google Drive, they just click on New, and it opens up this window on the right that allows them to tell Google Drive what you would like to do. Do you want to create a new folder, a new Google Doc, a new Google Slide show? And these are things that the teachers will explain to the students in terms of whether they are just going to type something on a document that's very similar to Microsoft Word, for those of you who've had opportunities to use that, or if they want their students to create a presentation to show what they know by using something like Google Slides. In some cases, math and science students might use Google Sheets in order to display and work with sets of data, for example. So we're going to look at saving a file to your Google Drive. And one thing to realize is that anything you create by hitting that New button, it's automatically saved in your Google Drive. There is no actual save button, because as soon as you start typing, it's already saving, and it is constantly saving. So anytime you create something by going to Google Drive and hitting New, it is constantly saving. So the bigger issue usually for people using Google Drive is more a matter of organization. Are you going to be able to find what you created afterwards? So when you are creating something new in Google Drive, it's going to be important to decide if you need that item to be in a folder, and then if so, you can move items into folders you've already made. You can create new folders, and you can even create folders within folders. So I'm going to go to My Drive right now. Now, don't be scared of My Drive. It has a lot of things in it. And as you can see, one of the things it does is it provides what's called quick access. So no matter where these items are actually stored in Google Drive, this is just a way to click on one of the things you've been working on, or your student has been working on recently. There isn't a lot of other functionality with this quick access area. It's basically, you can double click on the item and open it up. You can't click on it one time and then move it into a folder from this location. It literally is just intended for you to be able to quickly open something up that you were working on recently. You also don't get any say in what appears here. Google decides for you which things will appear in the quick access section. Then, as you can see, you have your folders first. If you don't have any folders, or even if you do, what comes next, and hold on, mine is still loading. What comes next is going to be individual items that are not yet stored in a folder. So I'm watching, there's a circle spinning at the bottom of my screen. There we go. So all of these things underneath that last folder called Zoom, all of these things are items I have not yet attempted to organize into any folders. I can do that, and we'll see how to do that really soon, actually. It's pretty easy. So again, folders come on top normally, followed by any items that are not yet organized into folders. The folders are first in alphabetical order, at least that's the default, but you can change that, and I'll show you in a minute how you can kind of resort your list. The files are in, the folders are in alphabetical order, and then any items that are not in folders are also in alphabetical order. But you can reverse the alphabetical order by clicking the arrow. You can also sort by when you last worked on it yourself, or when anybody who is also on that same file or folder last worked on it. And you can't really sort by file size. So if I wanted to, I could sort by things I have last modified, and it's going to go in that order for me. Or I can continue. It looks like in my case, it decided not to do that, and it's still sorting by name, but it could be operating a little slowly today. Another thing it's important to realize, Google, I can't remember which one it chooses as the default. There's actually two different ways of looking at your drive. In a list form, which is what you see here, and because I have so much in my drive, I find it easier to work with a list. But you can actually also change it from a list to more of a visual form by clicking up here in this upper right corner. This icon will change depending on how you are currently looking at your drive. Because I'm looking at a list, it's showing me an icon that looks like little tiles. So if I click on that, it's going to change my Google Drive into a more visual format. So all the folders still come first, and then each item is more visual. So for people who are better able to kind of find information, if they can see a little preview of it, this can be really helpful. So anybody can choose, your students can choose whether they prefer to see everything in that more visual way, or notice now the icon changed and it's very small on your screens, but it actually is designed to look like a little list of 3 items with bullets. So if you want to go back to that view, you just click that. Those are the 2 options. You can have list view or more of a tile view, or grid view as they call it. Okay. Now, if you have something in your drive that you would like to organize, what you're going to do is, I saw one actually that was a good one for me to organize. There we go. You're going to find it in your drive and click it just one time so that it turns blue. It has a blue rectangle all around it. If I double clicked on it, or if I clicked twice really fast, it would open so that I could look at it, edit it, add things to it. But I don't want to do that right now. I just want to move it. So when I click on that, I actually had some items show up that weren't there before. So I'm going to unclick. There is nothing here next to my little opportunity to change to that grid view. But as soon as I click on an item, watch what happens in this upper right corner. I'm going to click on an item, and now I have some options. A couple of options we'll talk about later are the sharing options, but the first one I want to show you is how you organize the things that are sitting in Drive and are just in a list. It doesn't at first look like there's anything really you can do to organize these, but on any web page, if you see 3 dots, that is your magic click here, there's more button. So click the three dots, and all of a sudden you see that there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. One of the things you can do is move the item. So I'm going to do that now. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me a list of all the folders in my drive. And now I'm going to tell Google Drive where I want this item to go. So I'm going to not click here on this first one. If I click here and say move, it will move this demo into that folder. But as it turns out, I actually have folders inside that folder, and I know where I want this to go. So I'm going to go to that folder, and now I have a list of all the folders inside of it. Again, don't be scared by how many folders I have. Then I'm going to click on the folders inside of that. So the way you can tell that there's a folder inside is if there's a little arrow to the right, that means there's more folders. I'm trying to see if there's one that doesn't. I tend to use folders a lot. So if there's a little arrow to the right, that means there's more folders. So I'm going to click on that. And now I'm going to go to the folder where I'd like it, and I just click move. And what will happen is it will leave my drive, and it won't be in this list anymore, and it will instead live in this folder where I have placed it. So I'm going to click move. And as you can see, that particular item has disappeared. Some of you might have noticed that there was another option that showed up for me. So I'm going to see if I can find something else that I would like to organize. I know where to put that. So I am going to grab this item. I'm going to click on the three dots. I'm going to choose move. If the folder you need doesn't exist yet, there's actually an option to create a new folder right within your drive, but also anytime. So if I want to add a subfolder inside of courses and PD, I'm going to click the right arrow. I'm going to click the plus, and I'm going to give the folder a name, hit the check mark, and now I've created a new folder, and I can say move it here. So you are able to create folders on the spot if you need them. If I go back to my slides, this is called a Google Slides file. It's what I'm using to organize myself as I go through this presentation. You'll see that you actually have screenshots of all of this. And we're going to move on a little bit into understanding some other little icons in Google Drive that help you know if something's already in your drive. When you open a file, especially from shared with me, which we're going to look at in a minute. Yeah, we're going to look at that in a minute. There are two possible icons. One is this triangle plus. The triangle is the Google Drive logo, and the plus is add. That tells you it's not in your drive yet. It's probably sitting in shared with me, but it's not in your drive. Or you might see a file folder icon, and that tells you it's already in your drive. And if you click on the file folder icon, it will show you where the item is located, and it will give you an opportunity to move it somewhere else. Why? Well, for example, you saw all those files and folders I had. It has happened that I have in fact added items to my drive, so they were organized into folders, and then I couldn't find the item. I have so many things in my drive, and I clearly forgot which folder I put it in. So I search my drive for it, and I find it, and now I can click this icon, and it will let me move it to another place that makes more sense to me, because apparently I couldn't remember where I thought it made sense before. And I'll be able to show you that in a little bit. If you see the triangle icon, it's not in your drive yet, but if you click it, it will be in your drive. Welcome, thank you for joining us. If you click the triangle icon, it will be in your drive. And you will have an opportunity at that time to also decide what folder it goes in Google Drive. So your students might not just have the things that were in the My Drive area. They also might have things in an area called Shared with Me. And again, this could have happened because either a teacher or other students created some files and then shared them with the student in order to collaborate on those documents. items in shared with me aren't actually in the area called my drive. They're not in your drive. They're just in the area called shared with me. So we're going to look at how to find and organize those shared files. So I have steps here for you in case you look at the slides later, because again, these will be provided along with the recording. And then we're going to see this live. So I'm going to, there we go, there's the screenshot. Let me move my tools out of the way. So in shared with me, if you click on an item one time so it becomes blue, some of you might remember that we suddenly had some tools that appeared. One other icon that will appear that you didn't see the first time is either that file folder that I showed you or that triangle with the plus. And remember, if you see the triangle with the plus, it means that the file is not in your drive yet. It's just sitting in shared with me. It's not organized. It's just there in a big old list. If instead you see the file folder, it means you've already added it to your drive, but perhaps you've forgotten where you put it, or maybe not. Okay. So when you click on that, you can click on this little triangle plus and immediately add the item to your drive. And you can organize it. So if I back out of this presentation and I go back to, sorry, I have to move my tools out of the way again. And I go back to my drive and I go to shared with me. So there are some items here that have been shared with me, and a lot of them come from Google Classroom. So there are a lot of items that are being shared that come from Google Classrooms that I'm a member of. If I click on it one time, oh, look at that, it's not in my drive yet. If I want to add it to my drive, I need to click on it. Sorry, I'm scrolling really quickly to try to get past student names and so on. So I'm looking for some other ones. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to take a look at one that might be, for example, something from one of our other program specialists, and see if we can add that to my Google Drive, or even any other employee. There we go. So we have a recording here. I'm going to click the plus, and now it's going to give me a chance to move it to another place in my drive. Now, because I don't own this file, they're calling it a shortcut because it's not my file and I can't edit it, but I can still organize it. So I can actually decide where I want to put this folder, this file in my drive at any point. And if I don't see the appropriate place, I can create a new folder here, and I'm going to add shortcut. And it's going to add it to that shared folder. Notice it does not leave shared with me. The only way to clean up shared with me, because as you can see, it's a big, long list of everything that's ever been shared with me. The only way to clean it up is to actually put the items in folders in your drive and then actually delete them from shared with me with the trash can icon. So shared with me cannot be organized in and of itself. There's no way to add a folder inside of shared with me, but you can take any file or folder that's there and move it to where you want it in Google Drive, and it will still stay in shared with me. It will be in both places at the same time. So if your student is a little bit distressed by the amount of files in shared with me, once they organize them and move them into where they want them, they can actually safely hit the trash can, because once the items are moved to their Google Drive, it is in their Google Drive. But it is a common misunderstanding. People think that they can create folders inside of the place called shared with me, and you cannot. All that is a big list of everything that has ever been shared with you. You can open it, you can look at it, and you can also move it into your drive. Okay. So the other icons up there are also really important for your students, especially with the kinds of work that a lot of them will be doing. This one, once you highlight one item, you get these icons. This one means that you're going to get a shareable link that you can send out, for example, via an email or in a message to multiple people that will give them access, usually to view the item, but not to change it or edit it. This one means share it with a specific person or with specific people, and the default is that those people can edit the item. In both cases, whether someone can only look at it or whether they can edit it can be changed in both cases. The next one lets you preview the file. So it gives you a little preview window so that you can see if that helps you jog your memory as to what the file was. The trash can allows you to delete it. And the 3 dots tells you that you have more options. Things like renaming it and so on. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes your students will create a file like perhaps a document or their own presentation like this one that I'm using, and they need to share it with other students. And as you saw a moment ago, they have these chain link and person plus icons that they can use to quickly share something with someone else without even having to open it up all the way. So they highlight it and make it blue, and the link is typically view only. That's the default, but they can change it. And this one is the person with the plus is permission to edit, and it will send them an email. When you click the link, it gives you a link that can be copied, and it also kind of tells you what the permission is. In addition, this little area called sharing settings, you can open that up and change it so that you're giving people ability to change the document, for example. When you click on that little person icon instead of the chain link, you get this screen. This is where you would add people, and that little pencil means that they can edit. Okay, so you type a name. It works with student names as well, so they can quickly type a student name. It'll pop up their student emails. They can actually add a message for it to appear. Now the students will have to go to their email to know this, or they'd have to go to Shared With Me in Google Drive, and they will see it there as well, even if they don't happen to ever check email. And then the student, these are typically older students, but they can click to change the permission. The pencil means that the people they have added here can actually fully edit the document. They can make any changes they want. Okay. So that is just more information about what Google Drive is, how it works, how you create new content in there, and then how you organize it into folders if you want to do that so that it's not just a big list. Again, as your students progress through the school system, their Google Drives are going to get pretty full. Some things will automatically be in folders for them, especially for Google Classroom. So that's helpful. Before I move into a little bit about that connection between Google Classroom and Google Drive, I want to check in with Jen. I see a couple of chats have appeared, but have there been any questions, Jen?
Nope, we're all doing just fine.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody's great. If anybody has a question, they can throw it in the chat, but that has not happened at this point. I think you're just doing an excellent job of explaining.
Either that or I've lulled everybody to sleep. Okay, so here we go. We're going to move on into turning in work in Google Classroom, and we're mainly focusing on kind of, yes, how that process works, but specifically how it works when the students need to attach something from their Google Drive in order to put it into Google Classroom, because that is a common need that your students are going to have when their teachers create assignments for them in Google Classroom. So the first thing to do is open up your Google Classroom, and that actually happens from Portal as well. I know a lot of you were able to attend last week's training that Jen did so fabulously, and there is a recording posted in the Family Distance Learning Hub on our webpage for the district. So you want to make sure you go to Portal, the student portal, and go into Google Classroom. And I'm going to talk about the folder icon here in a minute, but for now I'm going to just open up the class. And then you want to find the assignment. I think the classwork page is the easier way to go to do that in almost all cases. And then click on View Assignment. Now, I just saw a sneak peek of something today, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you because it's not showing up in my Google Classrooms yet, but apparently it's coming. Just so you all know, to share with your learners, coming our way, I don't know when, because as I said, it hasn't shown up in my Google Classrooms yet, but this one called Tech Practice is a class that I'm a student in. And soon, instead of just seeing what's coming up due, there's going to be a new button that says View Assignments, and it's going to put all the assignments right there. I just saw that launched for some people's accounts today. Google has so many accounts that sometimes it takes a while for their changes to make their way all the way across the country and around the world into all of the Google Classrooms. But do know that there's coming an easier button that's going to be right here in this kind of blank space in these tiles where they can click to view assignments for that class. So I'm really excited about that, but I wasn't able to add it to the presentation because I don't have it yet. In any case, open up the class. And as you saw last week, the student classes say stream, then classwork, then people at the top. So they want to go to classwork almost all the time. It tends to be the easiest way to find the work that's assigned to them. And they'll see an assignment and they'll see view assignment. And if you want more information on this, I highly recommend looking at the recording from last week where you can see this all played out in real time for a whole variety of types of assignments. Now, if your student already has the work in Google Drive, you don't want to just hit turned in because it's not attached yet. Now, the one I picked, there is a document that the teacher attached that's automatically there waiting for me. But we're going to pretend that I also created a second document that I want to send back to my teacher with my responses to this reading, because the document that's here is a reading, but I want to send my teacher back my answers and my responses and my thoughts about that reading. So instead of clicking turn in, your student needs to click add or create. And when they do, they'll actually be given two options at the same time. One is to go to their Google Drive, and now you recognize that little triangle logo. Go to Google Drive and find the thing they already finished. The other option is if they haven't started their work yet, they can actually create a document or a slides presentation file or a sheets, which is like a spreadsheet for working with data, and also a drawing file where they can actually create a visual work. They can create it right then and there, and it will be saved in their Google Drive automatically. But we're going to focus on how to find the files that are already in your Google Drive that you want to attach to your assignments. So you're going to click on where it says Google Drive, and then you're going to want to browse Google Drive for the work you completed and select it. Most of the time for your students, it's going to appear in this area called recent, because the students were working on it and now they're going back to Google Classroom to turn it in. And so it's normally going to be very easy for the students to see the file they were just working on, and they won't even have to browse their drive. Take a look at the top of my screenshot. It says recent, upload, and my drive. So it always starts with recent. Google Classroom and Google Drive work together in a very intelligent way. And Google Classroom says, you know what? I bet the things that my student wants to attach are probably something they just did recently. So we're just going to open up on recent automatically. But if the student looks around there and doesn't see it, they can click my drive instead, and then it will actually bring them, sorry, hold on. There we go. It will actually bring them to their drive so that they can search for the folder, as you're going to see in a moment with my slides. Sorry, my toolbars are, whether I put them at the bottom or whether I put it at the top, at some point it's going to be in the way. So they find the attachment, whether it's in recent or in my drive, click it one time so that it's blue, and then click the add button. And they should see it there to confirm that it was successfully attached. Now they can click the turn in button. And that work will automatically go to the teacher, and it's automatically kind of part of Google Classroom. And if the teacher is, giving feedback and so on, the teacher will be able to access it right through Google Classroom in order to give the students feedback. The next thing that will happen is when you hit turn in, it will want you to confirm that you really do want to send both of these things to your teacher. If you've made a mistake, you just hit cancel, you go back here, you hit the X, or you hit the X on this first one if that's not the one you wanted to send, and try again with turn in, and it will confirm again, is this really what you want? You can also cancel, hit the X, choose add or create again, and start the process again of going into your Google Drive to get the correct file. So then once you're sure it's true and done, you can hit turn in. And then what you'll see in Google Classroom, instead of the turn in and the add and create buttons, you'll see the unsubmit button. This allows you to get your work back if you realize there's something you need to do because you suddenly come to the realization that you forgot to do something the teacher asked for, or you made a mistake. You can actually click unsubmit and get your work back from the teacher, and then you go through the process to turn it in again. Now, it could happen, especially again for students who have teachers who are using Google Classroom extensively, and for our older students, that they know they did an assignment. They finished it, they turned it in, they want to see it again, they can't find it, they can't remember where it is in Drive. And one important feature of Drive I forgot to show you is you can actually search your Drive. It actually has a search bar. So if I want to look for the presentation I did for teachers and I can't remember what folder I put it in, it will start populating things as soon as you start typing. And you can, if you can think of a word that's really unique to the file that you're looking for, you can actually just search your Drive for those items. But let's say you try that and you're like, I don't know what happened, but I just can't find it. If it is something that the student submitted in Google Classroom, or that was given to the student in Google Classroom and they haven't done it yet, and for some reason they're having trouble getting into the full classroom, or they're trying to click on the attachment from the assignment, or just whatever reason, if it's not working for them, another location to find your items from Google Classroom is the file folder icon that is part of every Google Classroom. So in this class that I am a student in, when I click that file folder icon, sure enough, I'm going to get all of the documents that I have either turned in, so those belong to me, or that have been provided specifically to me. And I can double click on them. I can open up this one, this icon, this blue icon tells me it's a Google Doc. I can double click on it. I can keep working on it, and so on. So this file folder icon can be a quick way to find the resources, the assignments, and even the assignments that I as a student have started working on in Google Classroom, and now I can't find them, or I don't want to open up the classroom page and scroll all the way through the classwork because, wow, my teacher's really good at Google Classroom and she puts a lot of stuff in there. It might be faster to just click the file folder icon and continue working on my assignment by finding it there. Okay. So one of the types of assignments that your teachers might give you, and that does also end up living in your Google Drive while being usually assigned to you through Google Classroom, is a Kami assignment. And we saw a little bit of a demo of Kami last week. Kami is a very special kind of assignment. It's actually designed to take what is normally not something that people can type on or highlight on or draw on, and turn it into something that both the student and teacher can type on, highlight on, and draw on, as well as add audio comments or text comments. An example, of course, is a PDF document. Normally, most PDFs, they are there for you to look at. You cannot type on them, you cannot highlight on them. Well, many teachers have prepared instructional materials that are given to them to use with their classes in PDF form. And when we were in the classroom, before we experienced the shutdown, the teachers were able to make copies of those documents because they were part of the published instructional materials that were adopted for the class. And so they could make a photocopy for each student of those PDFs, and the students just did them in class or for homework. But now that we're doing distance learning, that's a little harder because we don't all have printers at home. We aren't all able to write on it and take a picture and send it. That's kind of complicated. So Kami gives us a way to do that work that would have been done by pen and paper and do it on our computers by taking those assignments from the teacher's textbooks and instructional materials and making it into something that the students can actually type on. So I basically just explained what all that is, but the Kami activities are created by the teacher and then assigned to the students in Google Classroom. And students get their copy of the assignment from Google Classroom. They finish the assignment doing whatever it is the teacher instructed them to do, and then they turn it back in, usually within Google Classroom. However, we will talk today about a workaround in case your student has a glitch or a problem with trying to turn it in Google Classroom. We'll talk about how, again, that connection with Google Drive will be really important. And part of it has to do with a button called Turn In on Kami that for some reason appears for some students and doesn't appear for other students. Let me check my time. Okay, we're doing good. All right. So first of all, how do I get Kami as a student? If your student checked out a district-owned Chromebook, they already have it. It was installed for them on the Chromebook. So as soon as they open up the Chromebook and sign in, they've got Kami, they're good to go. For students who are using personal devices, they have to install the extension. Again, remember that you will get a copy of this slide deck. So this link is actually a link that you'll be able to click on, especially if when you open the slide deck, you click on the present button. It actually makes it easier to click on these links. Otherwise, you click on it once, then it opens up below and you need to click on it below. So if you're in this view where you can see the slides on the left, you click on it here. I believe it's going to be shared as a PDF, and in that case, all the links will just work for you and it won't be any problem. So forget what I just said. I forgot that it's going to be shared as a PDF. So let me go back to present mode. So you will have access to this if you need it. Your students, you might find out that your students already knew all this and their teachers already told them and they've already done it. For those of them who are even receiving this special kind of assignment. It is really, really, really important that students be signed into the Chrome browser with their San Juan student email address. And I try not to get very technical, but especially if the students are using a computer that is shared by the family or even their own personal computer, but they have their own Gmail account, for example. This is really common with our older students. They could be using the Chrome browser with their Gmail account and still have successfully gone to Portal, opened Google Classroom, and so on with their student San Juan account. That will cause a problem where Kami doesn't load and it doesn't work because Kami is a program that lives in the browser. These little icons are all my little browser programs, and Kami is one of them, and it is specifically attached to the account that installed it. So in order for this to work with your teacher's Google Classroom and the Google Drive that the student has for the district, it is really important that the students be signed into Chrome with their student account. They can tell by clicking on the profile circle in the upper right corner and then checking to see what email address appears. And then if need be, they can switch accounts, which is what it says below this on the screenshot. Again, if your students have district-owned Chromebooks, it won't be a problem at all because they actually sign into Chrome with their student account when they open the Chromebook each day. When your student gets a Kami assignment from their teacher, it starts very similarly to any other assignment in Google Classroom. They're going to go to Google Classroom, probably go to the classwork page. Maybe they'll get to go to that fancy new view assignments button that hasn't appeared yet in my Google Classroom where I'm a student, but apparently it's coming. And they'll go find that assignment and then they can click to view. And it's actually not the one that says Kami in Google Classroom. That is a help document to help students install Google Classroom. It actually is going to be the PDF. It looks like a PDF kind of. Now, some students experience a problem opening and they don't see the open with Kami option and it just says PDF in the corner and it looks like a PDF and they can't do anything. If that happens, remember what we said earlier. In the corner, and this is true on so many websites, it's always in a corner and it's always small. There are 3 dots. If you ever see those on any website, never be afraid to click there. In fact, you really should click there and see what your other options are. So when you click the 3 dots, you'll actually get an option that says open in a new window. And then when you open in a new window, it will look like this, and you start to see, oh, look, I can kind of tell this is a Kami assignment. It still doesn't look like Kami though. That's because you want to click on Open With and then choose Annotate with Kami. Then it opens the way it's supposed to. It should look like this with the Kami tools on the left, and your students can add text boxes, they can draw, they can add shapes, they can also add comments that appear on the right-hand margin. They can do all kinds of things with these documents once it opens in this way. And then normally, what they should see, what they should see is off to my left-hand side of the screen. This is a separate screenshot. It would appear in the upper right area where the blue bar is, off to the right, near this save icon that looks like a floppy disk from the old days, if you're old enough to remember those. To the right of that, they should see turn in. But sometimes that doesn't happen. The students don't see a turn in button. So this is where that connection with Google Drive and Google Classroom and Kami becomes important to understand. If there's no turn in button, just click the save button instead. That save button, which is the icon that looks like this funny little square, which is supposed to look like an old floppy disk. It's right here where I've circled it. And again, normally for your students, to the right of it, there should be a turn in button. But if it's gone, just click the save icon and then save it to your Google Drive. And then you can go back through the process that we reviewed earlier today regarding how to attach an item from your Google Drive and add it to the assignment in Google Classroom. So again, to review, if your student has an assignment in Kami, if they have the turn in button, they'll just hit the turn in button when they're done working on it. And they will access the assignment from Google Drive. They'll go through the correct steps to open it up so that they see these tools, and those steps are in this presentation. So you'll have that when the recording posts to turn it in. If they don't see turn it in, then they go ahead and save it to their Google Drive, because when they click on that, it immediately gives them the option to save to Google Drive. And then they use those steps we reviewed earlier for how to grab something out of Google Drive and put it into Google Classroom for the teacher. I do see a couple of new things have happened in the questions, and I know we're running out, or in the chat, and I know that we're running out of time. So let me just quickly finish this one piece that's connected. When your student goes to open up Google Drive to find it, it does look like a regular PDF. It even says PDF. They still will be able, the teacher will be able to open it with Kami after the student submits it. Okay, so can you share, Jen, is there a question that I need to address?
No, we had a question about whether additional programs like McGraw-Hill and things were also linked into Google Classroom.
Some are and some are not.
Correct, some are and some are not, which is what I answered. Also, I clarified that Kami is not a program specific to curriculum. It's sort of like a Chrome extension that supplements or helps students write on documents that would previously have been
created elsewhere. Yeah, and I can see where the confusion might have happened, that, you know, one of the most common uses is that a teacher has their textbook for their science class, their history class, their English class, their math class, and it comes with these PDFs. And so it's not curriculum, and it's not associated with a textbook or any particular class. It's a resource that teachers can use to help get activities that they want their students to do out to their learners that normally the students wouldn't be able to do via the internet because of the format of the document that was provided. Thank you. We do have, and I think someone will be putting in the chat, there is a link to go to a survey to give us some feedback and also give us some input about what you would like next and what would be valuable to you and to your friends in the community who are also families in the district. So if you have a phone available, you can scan this QR code. But if you get the link that's in the chat, that will also, if you copy it and paste it into a web browser, that will also get you to a form where you can give feedback. I'm going to leave that up for another second before I go to the last 2 slides. But it's okay if you miss it, you'll still be able to get the link out of the chat, and you can copy that and you can paste that into a web browser. Usually, if you're in Zoom,
yep. Now.
What?
The link is in the chat now.
Oh, thank you. Usually, if you're on a computer and you move your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, your other programs that are available, such as Chrome or Safari or whatever internet browser you use, will pop back up, and you can just click to go to that browser after you copy the link. Okay. Next week, our Families Matter workshop will be focusing on understanding and using the parent portal or parent connection with Q. And so I do encourage you to please come and join us. Also share this with, again, other families in our community who are San Juan families. We have an excellent speaker who is hands down, probably the single best expert on this parent portal anywhere. So I highly encourage you to join us and get a deeper understanding of kind of what the parent portal is, how you get in, and what you can do with the information that is there. And other than that, I just want to thank you again for coming and for your time and for your thoughts and for your work and for absolutely everything you are doing, both with, for your learners as well as for your family, and hopefully also for yourselves and taking care of yourselves in this time.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We truly appreciate everyone being a part of today's training, and we hope that this was helpful. Again, this information along with the slide deck will be made available and posted on our COVID-19 webpage under the Family Resources tab under Family Trainings, and it will be there early next week, most likely Monday. And again, we look forward to having you join us for future family trainings, and please make sure to complete the evaluation. Again, thank you all, and we wish you a wonderful evening, and please stay healthy. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.